Hello, my name is Matthew Gonzalez. I'm with the Institute of Politics, FSU. I'm here with Representative Fernandez Barquin. I'm going to ask you some questions about why you got into public service and sort of what goes through your mind sort of when you're legislating. So for the first question I'm going to ask you is basically what inspired you to seek elected office? Like what brought you to this point, essentially?
Well, first I want to thank you, Matthew, for giving me the opportunity to speak to you and to the students. So I started my legal career. I went directly from undergrad to law school. After law school, I worked as an assistant public defender in Palm Beach County for 4.5 years. And I was able to help people on a one-on-one basis. But I realized that one great way to help people also is to change policy, right? Because when you change policy, you can, at this level, you can affect the whole state. So that's what really motivated me to run for office was to help people on a larger scale.
Thank you for that. So then just sort of expanding on that, what part of public service do you enjoy the most? Like what has been really like fulfilling for you?
I enjoy meeting with constituents the most and just hearing them out, hearing their problems. A lot of them will contact my office and they don't expect me to get back to them, or they'll expect to speak to my legislative aide or my district secretary, but I prefer to just pick up the phone and call them and just see what's going on. And I give them most of the time, well, just about every time I give them my personal cell number. So they'll shoot me a text or give me a call, and I'll try and get back to them within 24 hours. So it's just enjoyable to just listen to them and to just hear from the source what the issue is.
Of course. So I know that this job comes with some challenges. So really sort of asking what's been sort of the greatest challenges as an elected official and how did you overcome that challenge and where does it stand today, sort of that?
I think the biggest challenge is just the time, the time dedication and being away from our families is really the toughest part. I mean, we're up here about 3-4 months out of the year, and it's difficult to travel all the way from Miami up to Tallahassee. It's
back and forth.
Yeah, back and forth. Yeah. It's not a convenient 7-hour drive.
Not at all. Not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
So I mean, there's that. There's a travel, just being away from family, missing birthdays, missing family events. I'd say those two things are the toughest parts.
No, I agree. It definitely is a lot of, takes a lot out of you. So then sort of getting sort of the highlights, like what's an accomplishment in your political career that you're most proud of?
Well, I would say I have a couple. I've been able to get several bills passed. I'd say the one that probably I got a lot of notoriety for, and I really felt like the media was really biased against it for me to be able to defend it. I mean, I gave statements to CNN, I gave statements to like some really big news outlets. National coverage, yeah. People who called me up and said, "Hey, listen, can you comment on your bill?" And I would give them statements, and not one of them published is HB1 from last year, the anti-riot bill. And I'm very passionate about it because I'm all for the First Amendment. I am all for protesting. But Matthew, the moment that the line is crossed and there's violence, I mean, that's just unacceptable, and it's un-American. So I would say HB1 is definitely my biggest accomplishment. As far as other things, I mean, I've done stuff with property taxes, trying to help condo owners get lower property taxes. And I had another bill this year in regards to property taxes. Unfortunately, it died.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's all right. It happens, It's
the nature of the job, I assume.
Yeah, it certainly is. It certainly is. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's just like anything else. There's wins and losses, right? I mean, and sometimes your bill advances, and even if it advances in the House, is it advancing in the Senate?
Exactly.
And that's something else you got to consider. But I would certainly say HB1, my work with property taxes, appropriations bills also is another big thing that I've been able to bring back a lot of money to my district in the sense of after-school programs, which right here, After School All-Stars, they have a center in my district that takes care of about 100 to 120 children after school.
I was an after-school kid when I was in elementary school.
Oh, so, fantastic. Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, it's exactly that age. It's K through 8, and they give them all sorts of programs. They specifically concentrate on STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math, right? So I would say it's not just a policy aspect. You also have to look at the appropriations aspect and what funds can you get secured for good programs. right, that are going to pay dividends on individuals like yourself.
Of course.
So that, and then another one, ADE, an association for the development of the exceptional. These individuals are generally adults, over 18 years old, who are essentially incapable of taking care of themselves. A lot of them are autistic, low functioning on the spectrum, and I've been able to secure funds for them too. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a multitude of programs, but at the end of the day, I mean, I just want to make sure that there's good policy,
of course,
and also help my constituents.
Of course. So part of the mission of the Institute of Politics is to promote sort of civic engagement, civil discourse, things like this. And so basically, I guess the question is, what do you see as the keys to moving society toward more civil political discussions? I know that this is prevalent here in the Florida House as well as the national stage across the country. So I just want to hear from you how you feel about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, because it's a very important question. It's something that I don't think enough people really analyze facts to get to the conclusion of how they feel about something, right? It's just so easy to go with pure raw emotion. And there's even studies that show that when individuals are speaking or there's a presentation going on, it's the emotional story that gets people's attention, not the facts and figures and that. But that's the thing, is that I think people really need to take a logical look at things. Right. And also consider the facts and consider what is a reality, what is going on, and what is a problem we're trying to fix, and is a policy fixing that problem. And that's something that I think is lost in society now, because it's just so easy to revert to raw emotion about how you feel about something.
Outrage sells, essentially.
Outrage sells. Outrage sells. And you see it in the media, you see it everywhere now, right? So, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing that's prohibiting people from having civil discourse in politics.
I agree. That's definitely something that I see, even myself. So, to sort of reiterate one of the other tenets of the Institute of Politics, they're committed to identifying and supporting, next generation of political leaders in Florida, which sort of me, the current fellows, as well as current students. So what advice would you give to those college students, like myself, looking to enter public service, like advice for them to succeed and do well?
I would say first, get involved in a campaign. All right. Doesn't have to be an extravagant campaign. Doesn't have to be a campaign for a congressman or a senator or even the presidential campaign. Doesn't have to be that, right? Something local, just so you can get a taste for it. Okay. Your local state representative, maybe even a state senator, right? City commissioner, city council, something like that, because then you will see the real grassroots, and being part of that campaign, you could go knock on doors, which I think is something that is completely lost among most of elected officials. I knocked on at least 15,000 doors my first campaign.
Wow.
And that's where you really hear what the problems are. You hear what's going on. And that's my advice, is first get into the campaign, and then if you do well working with the elected official and the campaign, they may ask you to be brought onto their staff, and then you could see what's going on within the office and get to know them. But first step, I would say definitely work on a campaign.
Thank you. So sort of in retrospect, as you look back on your time in office, as long or short as that could be, what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself on your first day in office? Sort of pick your brain.
Well, my first day in office up here, I didn't know where the bathrooms were. So that was one thing that was, just...
we definitely had issues almost finding your office. So
that too. Yeah, this office isn't easy to find. It's on the back end of the house office building, right? So I would just say, just be friendly. I mean, first day in office, and my first day in office, I was just trying to meet as many people as possible, other elected officials, and just get to know everybody. If you come from a specific area, just make sure to know everybody on the delegation, and also, most importantly, like in the House, I had spoken with the Speaker of the House multiple times before I ran for office, or the presumed Speaker of the House at the time, and So that was something else, is just speak to the older individuals to listen to what they have to say and what recommendations they have, right? I mean, there's a saying in Spanish, God, it's skipping my mind right now. The devil knows more from being old than from being the devil. Is basically the translation in English. Okay, and it's basically the same thing in politics, same thing here, same thing in school, same thing in life. All right, is to ask for other people's advice because they've lived it. Of course. Okay, and you want to hear from their experiences, and you don't want to, they may not give you the best advice, right? But at least they're going to tell you where the potholes are. Yeah. So you don't step in them. I mean, that's at least the best advice that you can get from them, is where the faults are. Yeah. So you don't make the same errors. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So I guess sort of expanding on that, because you did look to the speaker as sort of like a mentorship then. Would you, who was your most important political mentor and how have they shaped your career? Would it be the speaker? Would it be someone else?
I would say that a dear friend of mine who is currently, he was a former ambassador to the Organization of American States, FSU law grad, Carlos Trujillo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's definitely one of my mentors. He's someone I speak to often for advice. Another one would be former state senator Alex Villalobos, who's from Miami. Another one is Lieutenant Governor Carlos Lopez Cantera, former Lieutenant Governor under Rick Scott. It's incredible because at least in Miami, I don't know how it is in the rest of the state, but once you get into office, it's very easy to just pick up the phone and call these individuals. Or even when you're running for office, a lot of them are very accessible because they're fine with just sitting down and talking to you and just telling them telling you their experience, right? So it goes back to just asking for their experience and all that and hearing them out. Because not a lot of things have changed up here in 20 years when it comes to the way things are done, right? No. I mean, bills are bills, appropriations are appropriations, and it's not, there isn't much magic here when it comes to things. I mean, I would say those are the three individuals that I contact and speak to and ask for advice from every once in a while.
Awesome. So for my final question for you, sort of looking forward, what makes you the most optimistic about the future of politics? People, issues, anything along those
I would say the young people that contact me, like yourself, for instance. I mean, other college students that have contacted me, the interns that I've come into contact with, the aides. It's just, I'm confident for the future because I've come into contact with these individuals who care. Also high schoolers who are also interested in politics. Yeah, and just coming into contact with these individuals who wanna know more about what's going on. They want to know more about current events. They want to know more about reality, right? And so the more they know, the more that they can do in the future. So yeah, I'd say just a general inquisitive nature of the younger generation.
Awesome.